Part 6. Nagato along with every AIM ninja inside the town watched in silent horror as the two ninjas rushed at each other. Words weren't enough to describe this sensation which every person felt as the thick dark smoke charged towards the approaching long spear from the sky. Just seconds before the two warriors ran into each other, the thick dark smoke transformed into Naruto quickly. Nagato shivered when he saw the crazy bloodlust in the dark red eyes of his best friend. He also saw the sheer terror the AIM ninja felt as well as they tried to accept that all of this was truly happening and was not just a dream. Power, yelled Naruto. His voice sent shivers down everyone's spine. The level of anger, hatred and bloodlust in his friend's tone made Nagato take a step back as Naruto raised his right hand and pointed his first two fingers towards the approaching gigantic spear made up of paper weapons. Kyurei Kaminari Dark Lightning. Nagato continued to be surprised as violent bolts of dark purple-colored lightning started shooting from his friend's fingers. He knew Naruto could do ninjutsu, but this was the first time he had seen his friend combine that ninja art with his dark powers, and the effects were truly frightening. The AIM Kunoichi's dangerous spear collided violently with the lightning bolts, sending sparks all over the area. A few unfortunate AIM ninja also got hit and collapsed unconscious instantly. Panic spread on the battlefield as everyone dashed for cover. Even Nagato was not spared from the incoming attacks when he saw several deflected lightning bolts racing towards him. He reached into his pouch and threw 4 seals into different corners of the battlefield, his hands already going through a complicated series of hand seals. Foon. A large rectangular blue-shaped barrier was created all over the battlefield, protecting him as well as the AIM ninja from the oncoming attacks. Nagato turned towards his stunned foes who were looking at him in confusion. "Stay still and don't leave the barrier, not if you want to die," warned Nagato. "Why should we listen to you?" asked the young AIM Chunin angrily, as Nagato simply pointed his fingers towards the maniacal laughing Naruto as he fiercely fought against Angel's relentless attack. "Fine, if you want to get slaughtered in the battle between those two, then be my guest," snapped Nagato. He smirked when the AIM ninjas flinched openly on seeing the fierce battle. Nagato could see they had understood they were no match for Naruto, and it only made his situation worse as the frustrated AIM ninjas turned their angry gazes on him. "Kill him!" spat several of them. Nagato's eyebrows twitched. His urge to hit something skyrocketed as he spotted the stupid fools charging towards him. They were hell-bent on killing him, judging from the murderous gleam in their eyes. They didn't even understand in their anger that if he died then the barrier would collapse and their lives would be in danger. Not to mention Naruto would give them terrifying deaths if they even injured Nagato even a little. So for their sake, Nagato had to take these stupid AIM ninjas out quickly but without causing too much damage to them. After all, their mission was to intimidate, not to kill. So much for that, thought Nagato miserably, as he saw his best friend murderously attack the Angel of AIM. One thing was surely confirmed for Nagato today: never to piss of Naruto again. With a tired sigh, he brought his tanto forward and focused his attention in order to deal with the hordes of AIM ninjas that were about to jump on him. Naruto snarled on seeing the remaining AIM ninjas running to kill his best friend. He felt even more furious on seeing Nagato had erected a barrier to protect those dumb fools. "Your compassion would be the death of you someday, Nagato," thought Nagato furiously. The rage in his heart only served to make him more determined to end this battle. Whoever this girl was, she was good. To handle his onslaught of dark attacks was no small feat, but Nagato's life was at risk and he would not let his friend die. With great force, Naruto pushed more of his chakra into his attack. The lightning attack tore clean through the spear made up of paper weapons, and dashed madly to strike the slightly surprised Angel. Naruto couldn't help but smirk on seeing the victory in front of him. Apart from this girl, he doubted any of the small fries below him had a snowball's chance of standing up to him. However, the smirk vanished from his lips when Angel simply twisted herself a little, making the lightning attack pass from her side. "Impossible, lightning travels faster than the speed of sound. It seems AIM's not as talentless as I imagined," thought Naruto begrudgingly. As a testament to the girl's credit, Naruto couldn't feel any emotion from her at all. Neither anger, or fear, or nervousness. She just stared at him with her stoic amber eyes, and it unnerved him a little. It was already taking a lot of his chakra to keep himself afloat in the air. Manipulating wind chakra constantly was not an easy task, and only his years of training in chakra control as well average chakra reserves made this feat possible. On the other hand, this angel was simply using her paper transformation for flying. Not only did it consume less chakra, but it also granted her a little more agility and speed. She had the advantage. Guess, I'll just have to overwhelm her with brute force, thought Naruto seriously, as he clasped his hands together. Kaiten Nenshao Miseru, fire release burning missile. Angel of Aim watched patiently as her opponent brought forth a raging tornado of flames. But they were different from the usual fire attacks. Instead of being fiery orange in color, they were pitch black. Even the heat radiating from the flames smelled foul and corrosive. If she got hit by it, not only would they burn but make her skin crumble to ashes as well. She remained still, diverting every ounce of her attention to the approaching tornado of flames, which quickly transformed into a large missile headed straight for her head. She saw the boy grinning darkly on seeing her about to move. He was powerful, she had to give him that. But he had a great flaw. Angel was not surprised when the missile attack split into nearly 100 smaller missiles. The range of the attack increased, and despite the split of power, she knew any single attack from any missile could lead to her downfall. Instead of panicking, she closed her eyes. Just when the volley of dark missiles reached Angel, she transformed her entire body into uncountable paper shards and scattered in every direction. The attack collided with several paper shards and destroyed them completely. But the remaining ones started attacking Naruto from all sides, and the Uzumaki found himself completely surrounded in a tornado of paper shuriken, kunai that were ripping him apart. Naruto bit back a hiss as he received several more brutal cuts across his body. His blood spilled over as his skin was torn apart. He quickly clenched his fist tightly, bringing forth a defensive aura of dark chakra around his body in order to protect himself. And that was when he realized he made a bloody mistake. "It's over," said Mifune, his eyes closed as he turned around. A moment later, a monstrous blast ripped through half of the town, obliterating several small houses and shops, while sending debris in all four directions. Mifune started walking away, a slightly disappointed expression on his face as he witnessed the outcome of the fight. Angel could not be defeated. He had already told that. Now he had to go to Hanzo and request his leader to spare the remaining Uzumaki, since most of them were children and didn't deserve to die. He frowned when his fellow commander and friend hadn't moved from her spot at all. "Galatea?" asked Mifune. The blonde female remained still, her gaze fixed towards the now devastated town. Mifune walked back and arrived beside her. The samurai had to hide his shock when he saw Galatea gritting her teeth. "This one is quite strong," whispered Galatea, surprising her partner. "You mean," said Mifune in shock, unable to believe what he had just heard. Galatea's worried gaze was now fixed towards the devastated town, and her fears came true as another powerful wave of dark chakra was felt across the lands of Aim. This one being more fierce and very angry. Conan. He remained still in his position, eyes fixed on the tattered remains of his shirt that lied in pieces across the wet ground. The surface beneath him was stained crimson as blood oozed from the large cut on his chest. His enemy had also lowered herself a little towards the ground. It was faint, but Naruto saw that even Angel seemed surprised by his survival. To think, she sneaked so many exploding tags into the massive paper storm. And to use my own chakra to trigger their ignition. Ingenious, thought Naruto respectfully. He valued skill and cunning. This girl, despite being his enemy, was a worthy foe. Although her sneaky attack on him had caused an undesirable outcome. The barrier protecting the Aim ninja had shattered, leaving them completely exposed. Naruto could see his best friend fighting off against several squads of enemies. Many Aim troops were lying unconscious on the ground. Several others were injured lightly and rendered useless in the fight. Nagato was holding his own. "Two can play this game," thought Naruto viciously, as he started his hand seals. Angel prepared herself when the dangerous boy slammed his hand on the wet ground. Her eyes widened in horror when she saw him smirk. He had fooled her. Dori, Earth Release Earth Flow Spears. At the last second, Naruto changed the direction of his attack. He relished the silent, horrified look that appeared in the girl's eyes as hundreds of earthen spears rose from the ground, catching nearly every Aim ninja in their grasp. Their screams teared across the entire town as showers of blood erupted from their injured bodies. While not enough to kill, their wounds were surely painful. The few that managed to avoid his attack were shivering in horror on seeing their horribly injured comrades. Angel's eyes were slightly wide, unable to hide the anger and pain she felt on seeing the condition of her comrades. Furiously, she glared at the boy, and right then she knew she had made a terrible mistake. Dakiraijin, Dark Illusions. She felt a formidable presence tear through her mental barriers as it latched itself to her anger, pain and shock. Never in her entire life had she felt such a force. Despite her desperate attempts, it destroyed all her barriers and her world exploded in pain. The surviving AIM ninja couldn't believe their eyes when their undefeatable angel screamed. She collapsed on her knees, the pain flowing across her body was making every muscle of hers tremble. Despite knowing this was an illusion, a trick, she couldn't stop herself from screaming in agony. From the corner of her eye, she saw the boy staring at her mercilessly as he tightened the hand controlling the illusion. The pain continued to increase, and so did her screams. Her comrades tried to rescue her, but they failed as the boy's comrade made a quick sweep knocking them out. Nagato arrived beside Naruto, a relieved look present in his eye as all of their enemies were defeated. Go to the mountains, instructed Naruto, still holding his gaze on the struggling angel of AIM. Okay, but don't you think you are better suited? Nagato stopped speaking on seeing the murderous look in those red eyes. You're going to be our clan leader. I've done my part in clearing your way, the rest is up to you, said Naruto coldly, making Nagato flinch. What if they refuse? Asked Nagato hesitantly. As if to answer his question, Naruto clenched his fist tighter making the angel scream even louder. Nagato had to look away as he saw tears starting to arrive in the girl's eyes from the unbearable pain, yet she refused to surrender. Then they can forget about ever seeing any of these warriors alive, warned Naruto. Understood, replied Nagato curtly, clearly not happy with the method being used, not that his best friend seemed to care. With a sigh, Nagato swiftly started dashing towards the mountains where they had felt Hanzo's presence. A part of him was nervous, not only was his clan's future at stake, but the lives of the innocent AIM ninja was also in danger, not to mention his own. Nagato had no doubt that his best friend would not hesitate in fulfilling his threat of killing every one of those AIM ninjas, including Angel if things went wrong or if Nagato was harmed. Naruto was a powerful censor, and he would know if something happened to his friend. Nagato could now see as to why Naruto had refused to be a clan leader. He was not suited for that task. His friend was not a diplomat but a soldier who knew how to fight. Still, despite his twisted ways, Nagato was grateful towards his friend. He had put in a lot of effort into making this mission work, and Nagato was going to give it his all to make sure everyone came out of this mess alive. He had no other choice. Mifune had kept a firm grip on Galatia's shoulders, preventing the distressed woman from charging right into the town in order to save her apprentice and their soldiers from that monstrous boy. It was still hard for him to accept that Angel had been defeated. He had underestimated this clan. He had also underestimated this mysterious boy, and now they were paying the price. Let me go, Mifune hissed Galatea, her silvery eyes burning with anger. If I do so, then you will be violating Hanzo's orders. I can't let you do that, no matter what, said Mifune sadly, earning a fierce glare in return. But Conan, I'm not heartless, Galatea. I know how grave the situation, but think about it tactfully. Our soldiers are now hostages and are at the enemy's mercy. If you recklessly charge, and you will risk not only Conan's life but that of all our soldiers. We have to give the enemy a chance to state their demands, explained Mifune patiently. Are we negotiating with people who attacked our nation? Asked Galatea in disbelief. You know that's not entirely true. I know how you feel, but trust Hanzo. He won't let any harm befall on his own soldiers, especially on Angel. Reassured Mifune, and was relieved when Galatea closed her eyes in defeat. If anything happens to her, warned Galatea, then we'll make sure the enemy pays for their crimes. But it won't come to that, Galatea. Have faith, insisted Mifune. Galatea swore a few colorful words as she turned her attention back towards the lone approaching chakra signature that was slowly but surely nearing towards their location. Akino nervously sat on her summoned vulture. The Uzumaki children silently huddled around her, covering in fear. All of them had seen the devastating battle happening on the ground, but what had terrified them was the moment when that dark chakra had been unleashed. Akino had to go far as using a genjutsu to keep the terrified children from panicking. But even in the illusion state, the children still felt that dark power a little, making them get close to her for comfort. Something which she readily offered. She was worried for her best friends. Every second felt like an eternity to her as she was forced to stay here instead of being by their side. Yet this was the first time she had seen Naruto openly using his cursed power to such an extent. It was dangerous and powerful. However, she had felt the element that drove this power. She had felt his anger, his sadness, his pain, his hurt. Those emotions fueled that dark power, and Akino knew her friend's life was more than enough to make him feel those emotions naturally. She had also felt the bloodlust, and it scared her. Akino could only try to imagine what Nagato must be feeling as the boy was fighting beside Naruto. She was at least feeling all these things from a distance and wished Cammy to give both her friends the strength to survive and come back to her. She couldn't lost either of them. No matter how much annoying the boys could be at times. Please buy okay, prayed Akino, as a lone tear fell from her silvery eyes. Conan silently watched as her enemy finished trapping her injured comrades into a sealed barrier that was being maintained by one of the redhead boys' clonus. He had already bound her in ninja wire and strapped chakra suppression seals all across her body. As difficult it was for her to accept the fact that she was defeated. Her fists clenched tightly as she tried to live with this humiliation. She had failed to protect her comrades, she had failed to defend her nation, she couldn't fulfill her oath as a ninja, couldn't fulfill her promise to him. She fixed her hardened gaze on that boy. There was a nasty, deep cut across his chest which made her silently smirk. At least, she hadn't allowed him an easy victory and made him pay for the pain he had caused to her people. Conan saw how harshly he was panting, the sweat rolling off his forehead, the trembling of his hands. You can't control it, can you? Her question made the boy turn towards her. She couldn't help but be surprised by the indifferent look in his eyes. A few minutes ago he was craving for her blood, and now that the battle was over she was insignificant to him. It stirred something resentful in her chest, hurting her pride of being a capable kunoichi. You fought well, it's a shame you were my opponent, said Naruto sincerely. Conan blinked. She had truly not expected him to say anything, much less appreciate her skills. Maybe there was more to this mysterious boy apart from his dark powers and crazy attitude. Why did you attack my country? Asked Conan sternly. Again, that indifferent stare was her answer. What are your intentions? She continued. This time he gave her an amused smile. You do know that you are currently my prisoner and not the other way around? Asked Naruto flatly. His face mask did an admirable job of hiding his grin as he saw the girl roll her eyes. She was not even a little bit afraid of him despite her fate lying in his hands. He didn't know why he said the next words. I won't kill you or your comrades, said Naruto, surprising both himself as well as the girl. You've done an admirable job so far, retorted Conan sarcastically, and internally grinned when he blushed slightly. I didn't want to, I don't have to explain anything to you, said Naruto in a flustered voice, only to receive an amused smile from the girl. Somehow, he found the gesture quite relaxing. What's your name, boy? Asked Conan, making his eyebrows twitch in annoyance. Shut up, old hag, replied Naruto, and grinned as the girl's eyebrows twitched equally as she gave him a murderous glare. Shaking his head, he tore his gaze away from the frustrating yet intriguing girl. He fixed his gaze over to the mountains and couldn't help but worry about Nagato. His friend was heading into a very dangerous situation, and Naruto felt guilty for being the one who put Nagato in that place. But it was necessary. Tonight, not only his fate but that of his remaining clan would be decided. He didn't even want to imagine the consequences if this mission failed, because unknown to his comrades this was his last option. He was running out of places to take them and keep them safe, not to mention secure a stable future for them to live in. His own plans for revolution depended on the success of this mission. And he had placed all his trust in his best friend. It felt strange to him for doing so, as he usually liked doing things on his own. This was the first time he had trusted another soul with such an important task. Naruto could only hope his best friend lived up to all their expectations. I'm counting on you, Nagato, whispered Naruto, unable to hide the worry in his voice. A tired, distressed-looking boy managed to climb the last part of the mountain. He was panting harshly, his uniform torn in many places, blood dripped from the several minor wounds across his body, exhaustion could be clearly seen in his eyes. It was fair to say that Nagato Uzumaki had seen better days. This crazy mission which he had undertaken on the orders of his crazy friend was turning out to the toughest assignment of his life. Starting from continuously traveling for several days without much rest, then fighting a gruesome battle against so many enemies, then running for several kilometers at top speed. Followed by climbing a steep mountain and nearly losing his life. And now about to face a man feared across the entire ninja world. I swear I'm gonna kill you, Naruto mumbled Nagato. Commander. Nagato's head snapped upwards to notice the sight of a middle-aged man and a beautiful woman standing before him. The female was wearing the uniform of a high-ranking AIM ninja, and had addressed the older-looking samurai-like man. This was it. He couldn't fail. His friend's future, his clan's future, all of it depended on him. He won't fail. With great effort, Nagato managed to stand back on his shaky legs. He was nearing towards chakra exhaustion and his vision was partially dark. He had barely managed to take a few steps forward towards the cautious ninjas when his tired legs betrayed him, making him collapse on his knees. He faintly heard the starting of footsteps towards his position, before a harsh voice sent chills down his spine. Let him walk. The boy hasn't arrived before me yet. Nagato's bleary vision instantly cleared the moment his eyes caught the visage of Salamander Hanzo. The tall leader of AIM proudly stood before him, and Nagato realized why people feared him. The power he felt from Hanzo was immense and strong, and it made Nagato call forward all his will not to whimper beneath the harsh gaze of this man. His hands were about to start shaking, when he remembered Naruto's words of being proud for being an Uzumaki. Hanzo critically watched as the previously nervous boy shakily stood back on his feet and started limping towards him, using his tanto as a support. The determined look in the boy's eyes made Hanzo respect the boy's courage. I have to walk. I won't cower. A proud Uzumaki never gives up, no matter what, thought Nagato passionately, as the faces of his Uzukage and his deceased clansmen who had offered a valiant fight till the end flashed before his eyes. It was their sacrifice that gave him strength as he arrived before Salamander Hanzo and stood before the man confidently. In this moment, Nagato didn't feel any fear. He knew what he had to do, and nobody would stop him. He watched Hanzo, observing him with the same harsh gaze. I'm pleased to finally meet you, Hanzo-sama, said Nagato respectfully. What is your name, boy? Asked Hanzo, in the same strict voice, making Nagato look him straight in the eye. Nagato Uzumaki. He heard the woman gasp in surprise at the mention of his clan's name. Even the samurai-like old man raised his eyebrows a little. However, Hanzo seemed as unaffected as he was before the revelation. So what kind of threat have you come to make after attacking my nation, my soldiers? Asked Hanzo icily. It took everything in Nagato's heart not to faint right there as he felt Hanzo leak a portion of his power along with that monstrous killing intent. Nagato's fists clenched as he steadied himself. He would not mess this up. We don't offer any threat but offer the prospect of an alliance beneficial to both our sides, answered Nagato honestly, and saw Hanzo look at him critically. By holding my soldiers hostage against me? Tell me, boy, have you killed any of them? Asked Hanzo darkly. It is a necessary step to protect my people. We can't be too trusting in these troubled times, yet I give you my word that none of your warriors have been killed or will be killed no matter the outcome of this meeting. We deeply regret creating this situation, but it was unavoidable, answered Nagato frankly. He was surprised when Hanzo barely raised his eyebrows at those words and spoke. So what happens now? Asked Hanzo. If you wish peace and coexistence, then an alliance, and if not, said Nagato carefully, and saw the tall man narrow his gaze dangerously. If not, drawled Hanzo dangerously. Nagato felt his vision start to darken, but he fought it and took a deep breath. Just a little more, just a little more. If not, then something else at the least. Because I didn't come here to offer a one-sided surrender, said Nagato truthfully. Hanzo remained silent even as his commanders watched the interaction with extreme attention. When the flames of war reach AIM, there is a way to protect this great nation. I can tell you how to achieve it, if you listen to me with an open mind. Maybe then we can truly work together for a peaceful, new world. Nagato glanced at the three people surrounding him. He was already on his last legs and had done everything in his power to fulfill his mission. The decisive moment arrived as he turned to Hanzo and looked the stoic man right in the eye. What shall it be, Hanzo-sama? Akino had only seen a handful times in her life when her two best friends were mad at each other. Usually, Nagato accepted whatever decisions or opinions Naruto had. And as long as Nagato didn't pester his friend on morals, Naruto was willing to bear with his friend's compassionate heart. But something had happened. Something big. She had never, ever seen Nagato glare as murderously at Naruto like he was doing right now. The three of them were currently waiting in Hanzo's throne room, waiting for AIM's leader and his top advisors to make an appearance. She didn't know what Nagato had said to the powerful man, but it had at least convinced Hanzo to give them a chance to present their case. It was a miracle. Akino couldn't help but be stunned by the fire and confidence she saw in Nagato right now. The submissive, naive boy she had known was slowly changing, and she had a guess as to who was behind this change. She had to admit, whatever Naruto was doing was turning Nagato into a fine man. And in time, a good leader. Naruto for his part was standing on the opposite side of the room. His back pressed to the pillar, the redhead's face was covered by his face mask. His hands safely tucked around his chest, the boy was simply uncaring regardless of the murderous looks Nagato was throwing his way. Akino knew that if not for these important negotiations just around the corner, Nagato would have yelled at Naruto like there was no tomorrow. Just that pissed off he seemed. She herself didn't like the way in which Naruto had completed this mission, by keeping his closest friends in the dark about whatever his real reasons or plan was. It hurt, but Naruto was simply stubborn and usually had his way no matter what. The only thing stopping them from blasting out at their friend was the fact that they still trusted him and knew he had their best interests in heart. It was just his ways that were questionable. You did good. It was the first time she had heard him speak. She saw Naruto directly looking at Nagato as he finished saying those words. Despite her best efforts, Akino couldn't hold back her surprised expression. It was rarely possible for anyone to live up to Naruto's standards except Naruto himself, and he barely praised anyone. So to see him honestly praising Nagato was quite a shock. And it seemed Nagato was stunned as well, judging from the boy's open mouth and trembling lips. Seeing his friend's expressions brought a small, sad smile on Naruto's face. I'm sorry for putting all of you through everything that has happened in the past few months. Rest assured, you won't have to bear it any longer, said Naruto quietly. Before either of his friends could question him on his statement, the doors to the chamber situated on the far side of the room opened. A group of people walked in led by Salamander Hanzo himself. Nagato easily recognized the samurai commander and the beautiful blonde woman he had previously encountered in this group as well. Beside him, Akino stifled a gasp as she laid eyes on Hanzo for the first time. Naruto was wearing his expressionless mask even as Hanzo walked past him, but not without sparing a mysterious glance at the boy. He silently smirked when Angel or Conan was also among the group. He had to admit the girl had a strange name, and despite their rough first meeting he respected her skills. He simply didn't care about the other people in the group, specifically the old man and old woman dressed in civilian clothes who were shooting him murderous glares. He also spotted a young boy nearly their age with spiky orange hair in the group. Both of them exchanged curious glances at each other before breaking contact. At least not everyone thinks that I'm a freak, thought Naruto sarcastically. He could just imagine Akino's reaction if he said his thoughts out loud. But deep down he knew it was a fact. His powers were unnatural and twisted. They evoked something sinister in him that threatened to destroy everything he held dear. That was why he had to do this. His friends would never understand, but as long as they were safe and lived happily, he could go on living till his time came. To his credit, he actually smiled when Hanzo and his party settled in their seats and the leader of AIM looked straight at him. I've already heard through Nagato's proposal of an alliance between AIM and the Uzumaki, or what's left of them anyway, commented Hanzo, and was surprised when Naruto simply nodded. You know what advantage the Uzumaki can provide you. Despite AIM's increased strength, your ninja are weak in comparison to those of the Great Five, said Naruto flatly. He heard Akino and Nagato gasp behind him, and received several dark looks from many of Hanzo's supporters, particularly the civilian old pair. Hanzo leaned forward and gazed intently at him. Naruto for his part continued his defiant stare. I can pardon Nagato and the rest of your clan, but not you, said Hanzo flatly, as Conan and the orange-haired boy looked right at Naruto. Before Nagato or Akino could come to their friend's defense, something happened. Understandable. I planned this mission, none of my people knew exactly what they were getting into. I assume full responsibility, said Naruto truthfully, and raised his hand stopping Nagato from interfering. A stern glance at Akino also stopped her from speaking. As he turned around, he saw Hanzo giving him a surprised smile. I see, so you're the leader hiding in the shadow of Nagato? Asked Hanzo curiously, but the boy shook his head. I'm a soldier, nothing more. Nagato speaks for all of us, but each of us have a freedom to voice their opinions. That is just how we Uzumaki are. Said Naruto boldly. You know I can actually kill all of you, asked Hanzo darkly, making Mifune go stiff. Galatea and Conan looked uncomfortable. The orange-haired boy wanted to protest, while the civilian old pair seemed to agree with this move. Hanzo saw the Uzumaki boy start walking towards him. Galatea stepped forward but was stopped by Hanzo. He watched the boy climb the stairs and reach the throne on which Hanzo was seated. Beside him, his supporters were ready to jump to his defense, but Hanzo's eyes were fixed on this boy alone. The cold glare landing on Hanzo was enough to send shivers down the spines of his supporters. Before we perish, we will burn AIM to the ground. I will personally slaughter as many of your people as I can, cripple your nation just before the greatest war of our world. You will destroy yourself and all your dreams. To destroy the Uzumaki will be the end of you. I swear it, promised Naruto murderously, his dark chakra beginning to spike dangerously, making the people around him tremble. Naruto didn't flinch even as every ninja around him placed their weapons around his entire body, ready to strike in a flash. Your clan is full of innocent children. If my people die, so will yours, said Hanzo darkly, and saw the boy's eyes soften just for a second before the defiance crept back in his eyes. I've already seen the worst of this world. Your empty threats do not scare me, Salamander Hanzo, said Naruto defiantly. Neither Nagato or Akino knew what was going on, since Naruto's voice was barely above a whisper and their friend was standing far away from them. But judging from the weapons pointed at him in tense atmosphere, they could only imagine what havoc Naruto could be causing. It was these expectations that shocked them when Hanzo leaned back in his chair and smirked. I will give every Uzumaki a place in this nation. They all shall be given citizenship, provided they swear loyalty to AIM and its leaders, said Hanzo seriously, loud enough for the remaining 2 Uzumaki in the room to hear. Naruto only shared a brief look with his friends before turning back to Hanzo, a distrustful expression appearing in his blue eyes. Other villages slaughtered my people because they were different, because of our knowledge. I swear if you even touch my people. Naruto was surprised when Hanzo got back on his feet, making his supporters step back to create space. The leader of AIM looked directly into the young boy's eyes, and the message was clear in those orbs. I am not those men. I am Hanzo, Salamander Hanzo. Naruto's relentless gaze stared deep into Hanzo's eyes. He didn't know why, but his gaze went towards Konan, who also surprisingly gave a small nod. He saw how equally surprised the girl was with her own actions. He saw Mifune looking at him neutrally. Galatea seemed skeptical but didn't say anything. The strange orange-haired boy gave a small smile, and the civilians were glaring at him even more hatefully. He looked at his friends again. Nagato gave a nod while Akino gave him a hopeful smile. He could see the emerging happiness in their gazes, the hope in their eyes. Then under these terms, the Uzumaki clan pledged themselves to AIM. We shall abide by the laws of these lands, have faith in the government, accept the people of AIM as countrymen, and fight to protect this nation from all enemies, foreign and domestic, promised Naruto. Hanzo gave a firm nod as his approval of the oath undertaken. And what about you? Asked Hanzo, taking Naruto by surprise as he raised his eyebrows at the man. What about me? Questioned Naruto. Konan felt her gaze intently fixed on the boy before her. It was hard to explain, but there was something about him that was different. Maybe it were his powers or his defiance to stand up to Salamander Hanzo so openly. It was fair to say that she had never seen someone like Naruto Uzumaki. Although, his name was downright annoying in a joke. Who the hell named their kid after fish cake? Your clan, your friends took the oath. Not you, said Hanzo seriously, making the boy smirk. While I appreciate the offer, I'll pass. Hanzo saw the shocked looks on the faces of the boy's friends, the anger in his own ninja's eyes for such an open rejection, yet Hanzo couldn't help but be surprised. Beside him, Mifune was shocked on seeing Hanzo smile faintly for the first time in a decade as he stared in the boy's eyes. The others didn't understand, but Mifune could feel what Hanzo felt as he watched this boy standing before him. Your qualities will be known to this world for a long time, Uzumaki Naruto. Konan couldn't help but gasp at the unexpected praise showered on this boy. What made this act even more bizarre was the fact that Hanzo rarely praised anyone, even her. And it made her heart clench a little. Just who was this Naruto Uzumaki that even Hanzo couldn't resist to praise? On the other side, Nagato and Akino were shocked by what happened next. Naruto bowed deeply before Hanzo, much to everyone's surprise. The boy didn't say any words to convey his request, but Hanzo understood regardless and gave him a confident nod. Naruto's eyes then shifted towards Konan, to see her staring at him. He could see so many emotions floating through her eyes, and surprised her when he gave her a nod as well. Without waiting for her response, he cast neutral looks towards the remaining AIM people before starting his journey towards the doors. It was then that he saw the reaction of his friends. And despite being prepared for this, his heart clenched at the sight. Nagato's anger had vanished and he was looking at his friend with a new sense of panic. Naruto saw his friend already trying to think of various ways or reasons for making him stay. But it was Akino that made him feel sad, and maybe even guilty. He couldn't even look in her eyes and had to tear his gaze away or risk showing her his own emerging tears. He didn't want this, but this was the only way. Hanzo must have sensed his pain and reluctance, as the leader of AIM called his friends, diverting their attention away from him. It gave him the needed time to reach the exit and go away. He had to go now. Naruto silently opened the medium-sized door in front of him, making a silent hissing sound as the metal parted to allow him passage. But instead of going inside the room, he remained at the doorstep, his eyes fixed on the form of the peaceful Uzumaki children sleeping soundly in their beds. The sight made his heart flutter. Seeing them safe, comfortable made everything he had undergone in these past months worth it. Yet he couldn't help but feel guilty. Almost every child in this room had lost their parents, friends, or relatives because he failed in his task. He had failed in the task his Uzukage had so confidently assigned to him. He could still remember the faces of all his deceased clan members as they lay murdered in the lands of Fire Nation. Their terrified gazes always kept him awake at nights. He took a hesitant step forward, if only to say goodbye. But then he remembered who he was, and stopped himself. Unlike the compassionate Nagato or the friendly and cheerful Akino, he was the scary older brother. He had seen the wary and sometimes even terrified stares these children sent his ways. He understood their reasons. He really did, but deep down it hurt. And the worst part was that he knew they were right. Being near him could only bring them pain, suffering and dangers which they weren't yet prepared for. And neither had he himself made any great efforts to get to know these children. For the simple reason of not knowing how, or having the time to do so despite his heart wanting it. A wistful smile came on his lips as he imagined the future his two friends would have with these children, and it made everything worth it. Closing his eyes, he took a deep breath. With one final glance towards the future of his clan, he smiled and slowly disappeared into the dark corridors with a small thought in his mind. All of you are the light of our clan, while I am nothing but darkness. I wonder, will you ever remember me? It was rare for Hanzo to take a break in the middle of important negotiations. He always believed in getting the job done, no matter what. Yet there was one person who could make him break that rule. Watching the confident girl standing before him satisfied him immensely. It was still hard to accept that a few years ago this simple girl was just another one of the countless war orphans of AIM. And now years later, Conan was not only one of the strongest ninjas of this nation but was also his heir. In the path of fulfilling his dream of a peaceful world, Hanzo had long since given up the desire of having his own family someday. Not that he himself wanted it that much, since his dreams for change were far more important. Yet meeting this girl changed his life. There was something different in her that attracted Hanzo's attention. She had a fire in her that Hanzo wanted in AIM's next leader. May I ask why you brought me here? Asked Hanzo, letting go of his strict nature for a change. His voice actually sounding much normal and welcoming, for he knew Conan never did anything without good reason and he had faith in her. First, I want to apologize for, began Conan, but was stopped when Hanzo raised his hand. There is no shame in losing to someone powerful than you. It would have been a real defeat had you not given it your all. Whatever mistake you made in battle will make you learn your shortcomings and help you grow as a shinobi. Always remember, Conan, there is no greater teacher for a person in this world than the person himself, explained Hanzo patiently, as the blue-haired girl lowered her gaze. I know, but I promised, said Conan silently, and a moment later she felt a strong hand being placed on her shoulder. Let me be the judge of whether you broke our promise or not. Understood? Asked Hanzo patiently, yet his strong tone indicated that the discussion was over. Conan only nodded hesitantly in return. Is that all you wanted to discuss? Because if it is, then I should get back to the negotiations. Nagato and Akino are already stressed as it is with their comrade leaving. If not for my insistence to formulate our alliance officially, they would have long since went to do other things. But I need to solidify this treaty, now more than ever, emphasized Hanzo, earning a nod from her. That's actually what I wanted to talk about. There is a way we can secure AIM's future and pacify those two. If this idea of mine works, then you may actually earn the full loyalty of the Uzumaki without the need of an oath, suggested Conan, making Hanzo smirk as he raised his eyebrows. What do you have in mind? Conan couldn't help but smirk. She would have her little payback. Nagato and Akino were frantically pacing across the long chambers of Salamander Hanzo. It had been nearly half an hour since their best friend had walked out of this room, walked out of their lives without so much as a backward glance. Each of them had heard Naruto express his opinion that he would never serve any other flag other than Yuzu. Back then they had believed that with time Naruto would have a change of heart, but they should have known how stubborn that boy was. I can't believe he would do this to us, said Akino devastatedly. Nagato was thankful that Hanzo's supporters had also left the room when their leader had walked out to take a break. Or else it would have been quite difficult to negotiate such an important alliance when both of them were in such distressed states. What the hell is the idiot even going to do? Does he even have a plan? Where will he go? He keeps on blabbering about his grand plan, but he's so reckless, rash. She felt strong arms grab her shoulders, and a moment later she felt herself being embraced comfortingly. Akino slumped in his arms, unable to control her tears as Nagato comforted her. I can't lose him, Nagato, whispered Akino. Her voice trembled so much that it made his heart ache for the pain she was in right now. I won't let that happen, Akino, said Nagato fiercely. He broke the hug just a little, and cupped both of her cheeks in his hands, looking the distressed girl straight in the eye. Akino's tears stopped when she saw the determination in his eyes. As long as I live, you won't lose him. No matter what, I promise, pledged Nagato. Nagato. He didn't waver and gently caressed her cheek, making her calm down a little as he wiped her tears away. You must remember, Akino. He carries a lot of burden on his shoulders. His life wasn't normal like ours. I'm not making excuses for his behavior because I'm just as pissed off as you on his reckless antics, but all I'm trying to say is that I understand why he does these things, said Nagato sadly. I don't know how you do it, Nagato. I truly care about him. Hell, I even never mind. He drives me insane. How can you even understand him and not be pissed off at him for doing this to us? Asked Akino furiously, her hot temper flaring right up, and with good reason, after the decision Naruto had made without even consulting them. In response, Nagato gave her a serene smile. Because he's my best friend. That stopped her. Akino stared at her friend's smiling form. The answer was so simple, yet she knew only a person like Nagato could say something like that and actually mean it with all his heart. Just that kind of a person he was, and it was Nagato's patience and understanding that had kept their team together over these harsh years. As Akino was lost in her own thoughts, Nagato didn't miss her near slip-up about her hidden feelings. It was not that he had not known about this fact, but it was the first time he had actually seen Akino nearly spill her own feelings about a certain rebel Uzumaki. He honestly didn't know what to think about it. All he knew was that he wanted the best for both his friends, and it was up to them to solve this issue. And unless they specifically asked for his help or advice in this matter, he was going to step aside and let the two of them handle it. And seeing that Akino had calmed down now, he decided to explain some things to her in the hopes that maybe she wouldn't drive Naruto insane in her anger when he came back. Akino, I think Naruto knows what he wants but doesn't know the exact way through which he can achieve it. Unlike us, he hasn't experienced a normal childhood and has stayed isolated for most of his life. He simply doesn't know how to behave around people, or even live with them. And that's why he pushes everyone away, said Nagato patiently. Why? Asked Akino in painful voice. For fear of being rejected, for being abandoned again. What his parents did to him changed him. Akino bristled. Her dormant anger flared up again, both at Naruto and his parents. No matter what reason, they shouldn't have abandoned their son like this. It was worse than the fate of an orphan, but at the same time she could not be as understanding as Nagato. Yes, Naruto's life was harsh and cruel, but it was not enough reason for his unwillingness to adapt. Yes, he was bad at relationships. Then he had to work hard to build good ones. Staying away, pushing people away was easy and convenient, and Naruto would do just that to suit himself. Nagato had a soft corner for his best friend, always had and always will. So, it was up to her to make Naruto see his shortcomings. And it would start with both her and Nagato bringing him back. It wasn't going to be easy, and Naruto was definitely not going to like this. But they wouldn't give him a choice. She wouldn't give him a choice. You're done, Naruto Uzumaki, fumed Akino. As if even the heavens supported her desire, the door to the chamber opened and Hanzo walked back in alongside that smirking girl. Akino didn't know why, she felt an immense irritation build inside of her on seeing this girl. She knew Conan hadn't wronged her in any way, but she couldn't explain this jealousy? And judging from the cocky smirk on Conan's lips, Akino was sure that she was up to no good. What the hell is she up to? The reigns of aim were said to be relentless and unending. He had never believed this fact fully, thinking it was impossible for any place to forever be haunted by rain. But now, as he sat in the middle of one of Aim's wastelands being continuously soaked in rainfall, made him realize that the myth was true, and he had been wrong. It went to show there were so many things in this world he didn't know the truth about. He bit back the cold shiver his body threatened to let escape in such a frosty and harsh atmosphere. It had been 2 days since he left his friends and clan in Aim's capital. To be honest, Naruto didn't know what to truly feel about his decision. On one hand, he knew tactically his decision was right since he could never let himself become Aim's soldier. He simply couldn't betray the oath he had made to Yuzu and was hell-bent on following it till his last breath. Even if that had not been a problem, he had other dreams to fulfill now that his clan was safe. And he couldn't accomplish them if he was a registered ninja of Aim, since any trouble he created would spell misfortune for this small nation and his own clan. And he couldn't let that happen. No matter what. Even so, a small part of him felt guilty for leaving his friends behind. He had never even waited to say a final goodbye. They were his home, the only family he had in this world. And as he sat alone in this wasteland, he couldn't blink back the tears that came in his eyes. He missed the friendly banter he had with Akino, the peaceful times with Nagato. He missed it all so much. The rain falling down on him made his tears invisible as he accepted the things he had lost in his life. Many due to the actions of others and a few due to his own decisions. He had already sent a message to Kisame asking the man for the latest update on the brewing war. And maybe in a day or two he would receive a reply from the Kiri ninja. Naruto desperately wished it came sooner as that would give him purpose. A new mission which will help him fulfill his desire for a peaceful world. If maybe someday he achieved his dream, then not only his friends but millions of innocent people could live happy lives. So that the tragedy of Uzumaki clan could not be repeated ever again. His eyes hardened as he thought about all those forces that were wreaking havoc across the world. The 5 great villages, or more specifically the military governments and the Hokages. The corrupted daimyos, the out-of-control Black Ops forces like the ones he had seen in Konoha, crazy monsters like Orochimaru. The list was endless. He felt the anger build inside of him as he thought about the atrocities he had witnessed in the past few months. The few plants around him withered away as his chakra flared dangerously. He would make them pay, all of them. His eyes widened momentarily as he felt several foul presences far away. The strange thing was that these energy imprints were foul and corrupted. He could feel the anger, the bloodlust, the madness inside these group of humans. Stunned, he increased his sensory range and his eyes widened as he felt the presence of nearly 100 civilians. A small village, perhaps, said Naruto out loud. He knew what was going to happen, he could feel it. The war had already started, and now it had reached Aim. There was not just the ninja villages that were dangerous, but there were several other groups and organizations that were much worse. He took a step forward but came to halt quickly. This wasn't his job. The Aim ninja would know about this attack soon enough and it was their job to protect their people. He was already near the borders, and just a day or 2 journeys would get him out of this country. But if he did what his heart was urging him to do, it would only cause more problems for him. Naruto cursed out loud at this situation. He had no loyalty towards Aim's citizens, he was not their soldier, not their protector. Yet he couldn't help but relive the night of his own clan's massacre. The helpless screams of his own people, their despair and panic as they were slaughtered. They didn't deserve that, and with a heavy heart he knew neither did Aim's civilians. They were also humans. Period. Let your darkness be your greatest strength rather than your worst enemy. He remembered as Uzukage's words to him during his training. Naruto hadn't understood the man back then, but now he knew what his leader wanted. And if there was one thing he did obediently was follow his Uzukage's wish. Katsuro-sama would not have walked away when innocent lives were in danger. And as his disciple, neither would Naruto. Terrified screams rang across the small village of Han. Named in the respect of their glorious leader, Hanzo, this village was just another one of the impoverished small villages of Aim where poverty, sickness and unemployment existed openly. All in all, it had not a single special thing about it that made it worthy enough for such a vicious attack. Now, Han's grounds were stained with the crimson blood of several of its residents. The screams of terrified women and children could be heard everywhere, along with the moans of the dying men who were the first to be targeted and were being slaughtered one by one. Another sound was also heard across the village. Laughter. Cruel, vicious laughs escaped from the lips of the attackers. Dressed in dark black robes, their faces covered by skull masks, they were the epitome of monsters for the helpless people of Han. A strange serpent-like figure made up of green energy was floating over the village, making the civilians cower in horror. Take that, you bitch. Oh, I'm gonna enjoy this. This is the ultimate fun. Naruto stared at these disgusting creatures from afar. The animals were slaughtering everyone and everything that came in their way, be it man, woman or child. The sight of several little children lying butchered on the wet ground made his blood boil. The sight hit close to his heart as it reminded him of the slaughter of his own people. Their screams. And that was when his entire chakra flared murderously. "I'm gonna kill all of you," roared Naruto. Dark chakra oozed from his body at alarming levels, the foul energy being released from his body spread in all directions. The slaughter stopped as the vicious attackers watched in horror as their powerful serpent-like symbol in the sky was swallowed whole by a dark demonic skull. The ground shook violently as something landed right in the center of the village, sending dust and debris sailing everywhere. The attackers had lost all interest in the civilians, and had quickly surrounded the person standing in the midst of this dust. They all took a step back, when they saw his eyes. Pure, red demonic eyes. "Who is this guy?" asked one of the skull-masked men. Reinforcements suggested another. "Ames ninjas are weak as fuck. Let's show these weaklings the true power of our lord," howled a young gray-haired man. He brought forward his monstrous scythe and pointed it at the boy. His comrades also brought forward their long scythes stained with blood and grinned menacingly. "So you believe in Kami?" asked the boy, his voice barely a whisper. "Hell, yeah. Tell you what, brat, just die and be honored for becoming Jashin-sama's sacrifice," screeched the young gray-haired man again, his comrades howling in agreement. They all took a step back when the red-eyed boy gave them a maniacal smile. "Then let me show you the power of Kami." Before any of them could retort back at the brat, dark tendrils of chakra shot forward, wrapping their entire group in its spines. Instead of being scared, all the men stared at the boy incredulously and laughed. "We can't be killed by humans," yelled one of them proudly. "We're immortal." "I wouldn't be so sure about that," warned the boy. The tendrils danced wildly in the air, much to the surprise of the cowering civilians as they watched their attackers being slammed repeatedly against each other. Their painful screams brought some relief to the grief-struck people of Han, and they couldn't help but stare at this boy with newfound devotion and awe. The masked men who were butchering others, were being butchered themselves, which made the boy smile darkly. "Kill or be killed, that's the law of this world," said the boy. He stared at the civilians who were looking back at him devotedly, which only made him scowl. "It's better to hurt others before they hurt you. Don't forget that," advised Naruto harshly, receiving fearful nods in return. He saw the group of men trying to slice apart the dark tendrils holding them captive with their scythes, but their weapons simply passed through the chakra without granting them their freedom. The sight only made the young boy scowl. "I'm not the one who's wrong, what's wrong is this fucked up world," cursed Naruto. His chakra flared violently, and he threw the entire group of attackers hundreds of meters away, making them land straight outside the village. He smirked on hearing their painful screams, and rushed towards them. His heart thumped when he saw their terrified gazes as he approached towards them. "You bastard." Naruto laughed when a few of them charged towards him, eyes blazing with pure anger and murder blazing through their hearts. If only the fools knew. He simply pointed his finger towards them, and the very next second all of them stopped abruptly. Their comrades couldn't help but be more horrified, when their attacking comrades fell to their knees and started screaming painfully. Naruto saw the foul-mouthed gray-haired young man staring at him with fear flashing through his eyes. "I'm sorry, I forgot your name." Before the man could save himself, dark chakra tendrils erupted from the ground beneath him, impaling him all over the body. One of the tendrils hovered around him menacingly before piercing one of his eyes, making him scream, while the boy laughed. "What's your name?" asked Naruto curiously. Hidden. "Before I squish all of you like the vermin you are, tell me who sent you here," asked Naruto sternly, his demonic red eyes making the group of men flinch. "We are followers of Jashin-sama. We follow nobody but our god. Kill in his name," said Hidden painfully, as the boy made the tendrils impaling his body churn mercilessly. Naruto sighed. Foolish humans. Still, he couldn't help but be intrigued by the power of these men. All of them were sporting several fatal injuries all across their bodies, wounds that should have killed them long ago. Just the amount of blood they had lost should have been enough to take their lives, but they were still alive. He looked Hidden right in the eye and invaded the man's mind. Hidden howled in agony as the boy mercilessly tore through his mind, learning everything there was to know about him, their cult, their religion, their powers and their god. Hidden couldn't help but be horrified by the power of this boy. He was a true monster, a true god. After a few minutes, Naruto broke the mental link with a strange look in his eyes. He saw the men cowering before him, and couldn't help but acknowledge that they were immortal to a certain extent. They could be killed, his dark chakra could destroy their bodies from the inside. But he couldn't help but feel a connection to the power they possessed. It was dark, twisted and violent, just like his own power. While these Jashinists were nothing more than barbarians, their powers were not something he could simply toss aside in these times. Please, spare us, we won't attack anymore, pleaded Hidden, and the request was repeated by several of his Karing comrades. And why would I do that? Asked Naruto with a smirk. Hidden felt a cold chill run down his spine as he saw the ruthless gaze of the boy. He was really going to kill all of them, brutally. His eyes met the terrified gazes of his own comrades. They had seen it all. This was it, but Hidden couldn't help but feel something else. This boy was more powerful than his entire group, defeated them like little bugs despite the powers granted to them by Jashin-sama. Could he be Jashin? The demonic eyes, the bloodlust, the cruelty, the twisted laugh. Yes, he could be Jashin. He couldn't believe it. Their lord was standing before them and none of them hadn't even realized it. Oi, assholes. Naruto curiously watched as Hidden glanced at him for a moment before turning to face the terrified gazes of his cult. Naruto saw the look in Hidden's eyes before he started talking in the ancient language of their cult. Unknown to these men, Naruto had already learned the basics and could understand what Hidden was trying to say. Still, he was annoyed by the man's deceptive nature. He clenched his fists as the dark chakra tendrils around Hidden's body sliced off the man's arms completely. Hidden screamed, "You basta!" Hidden stopped himself from cursing the boy, and just in time as the young boy gave him an ice-cold glare. "You say something?" asked Naruto cruelly. Hidden bitterly shook his head. "I don't like people who avoid me in any way. You understand me?" asked Naruto threateningly, making Hidden whimper. "Yes, my lord." The Jashinists gasped in shock on seeing one of their own utter such blasphemy. Their furious looks landed on their comrade who looked right back at them. "He's a god, you fools. Can't you feel his power? It's just like Jashin-sama. Have you forgotten our scriptures?" yelled Hidden irritatedly. Naruto merely raised an eyebrow, intrigued by the event happening in front of him. He couldn't help but feel immense satisfaction for the havoc he was causing, and as the cult members looked in the boy's eyes, they saw the same madness, the same bloodlust, the anger only 1,000 times more. Their eyes widened as Hidden's words sinked in. The dark chakra. Their own powers were a result of the dark arts taught to their cult by the great Jashin. And here was this boy, a complete master of the dark arts who had squished all of them like little bugs. They felt his aura, his power, it was unending. "Ready to die?" asked Naruto finally, snapping the entire cult out of their shock. "What? No. Don't kill us," said Hidden in a panicked voice. "Why?" asked Naruto in a bored voice. We will fight for you, die for you, do anything for you," said Hidden desperately, and Naruto saw the same reason prevailing in the eyes of the remaining cult members. "Why?" he asked again, and this time he couldn't help but be disgusted by the fanatic look in Hidden's eyes. "Because you're Jashin-sama reincarnated in the flesh. I never thought I would see this day, to witness your dark powers. Let us serve you, my lord," begged Hidden. Naruto raised his hand, making the entire cult hold their breath in fear. He had to use every ounce of his willpower for not slaughtering these vermins right here. They were monsters in human forms. He had seen the crimes they had committed, he had felt their evil desires, they were no longer human. But at the same time, he could see their usefulness. They were nothing more than cannon fodder to him, mere pawns but useful regardless. The cult members felt their masks break instantly as all of them were forced on their knees. They felt a strange euphoria as the dark tendrils vanished and the twisted energy engulfed their bodies. The power they felt was ecstatic. Naruto stepped forward and was not surprised when all of them bowed their heads to the ground. He performed several sets of complicated hand seals before pointing his hands towards the group of people. All of them hissed in pain when a small portion of the dark energy submerged inside their bodies. A large skull face tattoo emerged on their right arm, its eyes glowing demonically red for a moment before dying down. When they stared at Naruto, he saw the result of the little ritual he had performed. At least one eye of every cult member was now dark red, just like Naruto's. Hidden was in the process of regenerating his lost eye, and to his surprise the lost organ was replaced almost instantly. He stared at his lord in awe and bowed deeply before. "Master, thank you for giving us your power," said Hidden madly, the others following him example. Naruto kept his expressions blank as he stared at these men. He had shared a part of his chakra with them, making their weak bodies a little stronger. It didn't increase their combat skills but made them a little strong enough to survive longer. But the most important thing was that each of them was now fanatically loyal to him. His will was their will. He had made sure of this fact by making himself appear as the avatar of Jashin in the minds of these crazy fighters. "Rise," commanded Naruto. He felt immense satisfaction when his new pawns obeyed his command without hesitation. Each of them would still pay for their crimes, but after serving their usefulness to his cause. At least this way, these wretched humans would be using their twisted powers for a good cause. "From today, you shall follow me. Together we shall strike this twisted world," declared Naruto. "Yes, master," replied all of them gleefully. "Obey me and I promise to reward you great battles and bloodshed. Fight for me, kill for me, do anything I say and you shall realize the reason for your existence," proclaimed Naruto. "We will do all you ask, master," said Hidden fanatically. He had seen it with his own eyes. This boy was an avatar of Jashin and the vision he had shown them was enough to make all the cultists dance with joy. Oh, the havoc they would be causing. He was brought out of his crazy thoughts when Naruto gave all of them a dark glare. "Loyalty will be rewarded. Treachery will only bring you a torturous death. Promised Naruto, and raised his hand. All the men fell on their knees screaming in pain as the skull mark on their arms burned their skin, their bodies. Hidden stared at his master, realizing their leader had marked them all with his seal. It was a funjutsu none of them had ever seen before and only went to show how powerful their leader was. "This mark is my connection to each of you. I'll issue my orders to all of you through them," instructed Naruto. "Yes, master. We understand," replied Hidden gratefully, as their leader stopped the agonizing pain coursing through their bodies due to the mark. Naruto stared hard at each of them, looking right into their souls through their eyes. Only when he was sure of their unwavering loyalty, did he step back and spoke in a loud voice. "Let our holy crusade begin," commanded Naruto. He couldn't help but smirk when his new followers howled eagerly. The feeling of loss vanished from his heart as he now had more resources to accomplish his vision. "Starting from now, divide yourself in groups of 10, instructed Naruto. The men obeyed without question and divided themselves into 4 columns of 10 men each. Naruto walked amongst them, inspecting all of them. "Tell me your names." The men were overjoyed when their master asked for their names. Their eager smiles only made Naruto smile at their foolishness. "Goro. Haru. Isamu. Jun. Ken. Ko. Fumio. Keiji." It took a few minutes, but he patiently listened as the men revealed their names to him. He did his best to hide his disinterest, as he finished the mundane activity. These people were nothing but pawns to him, yet it was important for him to know them if he wanted to use them. "Good. Jun, lead Team 1. Your mission is to set up bases for our army. Find remote places for this task. I give you 3 months. Isamu, lead Team 2. Your mission is to gather armor, weapons and arsenal for my followers. I don't care how you get them, you have 2 months. Ko, lead Team 3. Your mission is to get me the money for our crusade. You will regularly report back to me with the progress you've made. And Hidden, lead Team 4. Your mission is to gather information over the 5 great villages. You are free to kill any of their shinobi who get in your way and collect their bounties. Send them to Ko afterwards. Understood? Asked Naruto seriously. "Yes, master. I'll make many sacrifices in your glory," promised Hidden, as a chuckle escaped from his lips. Naruto maintained his cold, disinterested gaze at all of them. "Failure will not be tolerated. Except for Hidden and his team, the rest of you are to carry out your missions without attracting any attention. If I find that you have disobeyed me in any manner, then I'll make your fate worse than death," promised Naruto, making all of them shiver a little in fear. "Yes, master," replied all of them in unison. He waved his hand in a dismissing manner. "Go and carry out my will across this world." Naruto couldn't help the sinister smile from appearing on his lips as his fanatical pawns dispersed quickly to carry out his orders. First Kisame, now these men. Slowly but surely he was moving forward to bring forth the revolution of his dreams. Despite his dark powers being the curse of his life, he couldn't help but feel that one day they would be the reason for a change in this world. He would be patient, and make his moves slowly. He would destroy his chosen enemies in a carefully laid trap like a serpent and strike them in a flash. With those thoughts in mind, he started his journey back towards the village of Han. There could still be civilians trapped beneath debris. Children may be injured and he couldn't leave them in such a state. He would help them a little long enough for them to survive so that the AIM ninja didn't arrive to a village half full of bodies. And then he would leave. Alas, his wish was not to be fulfilled as he stopped dead in his tracks. His demonic red eyes reverted back to their natural blue orbs. His dark chakra vanished as he came to a halt. His eyes widened in shock. For standing at the entrance of the village were none other than Nagato and Akino, along with Conan.